Oh, there's Mr. Arena.
Yeah, but I'm not, what I told Joe is I got something going on tonight, so I'm going to listen and I'll answer questions where it's needed, but if you can run the meeting, that's great. Thank
All
you.
right, then we'll go with that. Mr. Arena might have to leave us at short notice or whatever, and if you feel the need to chime in, feel free to do so.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had. Oh, mommy. Come on.
There, now I see Jazz, I see Bert,
That's-
getting there.
I'll give it another minute, see if anybody else shows up. Looks like we're a little light on attendance tonight, but
As long as you can
Dinner's
sit here
there.
and have dinner at the same time, it's all good.
So it looks like we have 15 participants so far.
you see 15?
16 now. Yeah.
16. Tim Neighbors there.
Dorothy Red is on. I don't think my name is showing up.
I see you on there, Miss Rudd.
Okay.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Hi, Dorothy.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hello.
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 Hello, everyone.
And
Hi,
Jay.
I'm here. I've been listening to you guys.
All right, without further ado, we're going to call the joint Republican Democratic Caucus Committee here. Monday, May 10th, 2021. Presents myself, Mr. Webster, Mrs. Crosby, Mr. Lindmark, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Booker, Mr. Billich, Mr. Girl, Mr. Neighbors, Mr. Arena, Mr. Kelly, Mrs. Red, Ms. Gorel, Mr. Westcott, and Mr. Hoffman. Did I miss anybody? Okay, without further ado, I know the Democrats, we don't have no prior minutes or anything for comments or questions. Does on the Republican side, do you have any approval of minutes or whatnot?
Nope. None.
None? Okay. Moving on, I see nobody out here for public participation, so we'll forego that language. And we'll move on to, is there any announcements anybody would like to give at this time? Seeing
None for me.
none? Pardon?
None for me.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. I guess I will just go over, there's a handful of appointments that'll be coming in for a first reading. Rock River Water Reclamation District, Northwest Fire District, the Board of Health, North Park Water, Rockford Corridor Improvements, and North Park Fire. Handful of appointments that'll be coming in for first reading and intend to be laid over. And with that, seeing a few things on, I would ask Mr. Salgado if he'd like to give us his finance report. He's not even on there. Who's carrying that for him? Or do we know if he'll be showing up momentarily?
I have no idea.
Okay, is there anybody that would like to just give him a minute, see if he shows up and move on?
I don't have them in front of me, so I can't.
All right, well, that's fine. Let's just move on and we'll address them if Mr. Salgado is absent. So with that, we'll move on to the zoning committee, Mr. Webster. Pardon?
Oh, okay. You ready for me? Okay. Yeah, we have the one that's been laid over here from our prior meeting, ZO 221. That's a map amendment to rezone roughly 25 acres from ag to CG commercial general or general commercial. Now that particular one.
Right.
uh,
I mean,
got
that was
approved.
ahead of me, had two.
Hold on a second, Jimmy.
I'll catch him and give it to him. Yeah, I'll catch him. It was happy.
Mrs. Red, could you please silence your microphone?
Sorry, I don't want to put on anything important.
Dorothy? Thank you. All right, go on, carry on, Miss Webster.
Okay. So everybody heard what I said, I think here. So anyways, zoning board of appeals approved this unanimously, and the zoning committee had a split vote. So it came out with a negative recommendation. The other issue there on this is that the city of Rockford has a formal objection that they sent to us here. So that will force a supermajority vote on the board floor. 15 votes. So it's not majority of the members present, it's 15 out of 20 have to vote to approve this if we so choose. So I'd just like to give you the heads up on that. Any questions? No?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Webster. Let the record show Mr. McDonald has joined us. Mr. Arena?
has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this one, I just want to, because I talked to some people about this on and off, and just to clarify, so I'm not sure what I said to who, but what I know now is we have granted this variance to 2 other property owners right there in that area. I thought that the city of Rockford had objected to those as well, but what I found out today is that the city of Rockford had tried to object or wanted to object, but it didn't make it through committee at the city level. So there was no formal objection done to the other 2. So on those, we granted it, but without the supermajority needed now. So I just wanted everyone to know, for consistency, we have granted the same variance to 2 other property owners adjacent. Thank you.
Mr. Billich? Hit your mute button there, Jazz.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Jim, this one is the only reason why they had a argument against it was actually because eventually that corridor is supposed to be there. I mean, their main thing is they're trying to annex that portion of Lyford as well, correct?
There, I'll tell you honestly, I didn't agree with their objection on this, for the simple reason is that their objection to it there was, according to our zoning, they're citing the fact that under our zoning, it could include auto repair shops or auto service centers, car washes, or liquor stores or lumber yards. Okay, so the petitioner, as Mr. Kelly pointed out, the petitioner didn't want to annex at this point because they don't have a use or a buyer for that property. But if they had their zoning in place, then if a customer did come along and want to develop that, they would have that. Now, the city, at that point, then they would have to go, the developer would have to go to the city for the water, okay? Because it's within that jurisdictional area, so they'd have to go to the city for water. At that point, the city would say, okay, fine, we're gonna give you the water, but now you have to sign the pre-annexation agreement or the annexation agreement, either way. And so I didn't, so that's the reason I could only give you there, the city was opposed to it there, is because they were afraid what if might happen, but they hold the cards on the what if because they've got the water.
And I remember, if I can just follow up with that, because I remember the only reason why I mentioned it is because I also remember when we did the approval when I was on the zoning board of appeals for the storage facility that's on Lyford, up the road from it. I do believe when they were doing that, because they weren't needing or utilizing water, I remember that Troy had filled us in that the plans was for the city that they would eventually try to annex that Lyford corridor by when they have to include water into that area, since it is destined for commercial and industrial growth eventually, so.
Jim, Angie,
Yes.
I voted against this for the reason that if I'm going to do commercial zoning, vote for that in that area, I want to know what we're voting for, because maybe the person who buys it or even who owns it now might want to do a special use permit, want to do a map amendment. They aren't telling us what they're really going to be using it for. And because of that is why I voted it down. And I'm very much aware of the city, when you're in so many feet of it, their water, that you automatically have to have a pre-annexation agreement with the city.
Is there
That's it.
any other comments or questions on that item?
I will, Mr. Chairman. Looks like
Mr. McDonald and Mr. Arena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've talked to a couple of people on this issue. I plan on supporting it as well. I understand and I appreciate the fact that the city of Rockford does not. We're moving from ag to a commercial. That's going to be increase overall value in property. I think it's a good move. I understand the city of Rockford is within the county, but we have to make the best decision for the county and not for the city. Therefore, I intend on supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Arena?
Yes, I just wanted to respond to Ms. Gurl's comment. They're just seeking a zoning change to market the property for the use related to that zoning. In terms of not disclosing what they're going to use it for, they don't know what they're going to use it for at this time. And so I don't know, in my mind, that's not really relevant to this decision. And it does fit in our long-range plan for the area. And as Mr. Billich said, there was a use for another property there that didn't require hooking up to the city for water. So it's possible that this land would never need to hook up to city water, and to require them to do that now, just speculating on something that might happen in the future, seems overbearing to me. So I'm supporting it for that reason. It just seems like it's a, good pro-business type of move for us to make the land more inviting for a developer. Thank you.
Thank you with that. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, with Jazz and Paul and also Keith as well. And I live right near there. I'm not that far away. So I'm familiar with the area, familiar with, who is around there. And I feel really good about this. And I think we should go with this opportunity absolutely. I will be voting yes on this, let the city drag their feet on this. But in the meantime, I think it's great for our county. It's going to be great for that area as well. Thanks.
I agree with all the above comments there, really, because they're going for a zoning change, and there's nothing in the law that says they have to tell us what that use is going to be. And so the options are open for them to have interested parties want to do something with that property, but it'll have to be within the parameters of what's allowed in commercial general. So, I think that gives the property owner the leeway to market this the best way they see fit within the realms of reason in the commercial general district. Thank you.
Any others on this item? All right, with that, we'll move on to Mr. Billich with Economic Development.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For economic development, we did have one resolution that came forward. That is the resolution authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement with the Village of Pecatonica for $525,000 from the host fees. But that fell under our business incentive host fee program policy. Just a brief description. This is that program that we set forth when we decided, okay, we need to watch what dollars we spend, and let's incentivize it by a program that actually could prolong the life of the host fee. So this is one of those utilizations. Village of Pecatonica is coming to us for $525,000 for redevelopment of a plot of land that they're actually going to be putting multiple businesses on. And so that's going to definitely grow our EAV from the numbers so far from what we've seen. I believe it is upwards of 8,000% increase in tax revenue for that plot of land that they're going to be redeveloping. So it's going to be a huge bonus for them and a huge bonus for us. It definitely helps raise our EAV as well. So this is one of those loan programs where we're going to be loaning them the money and they're going to pay us back at 0% interest over a set amount of years. I believe it was 5 years that we're going to give them this, and then over 5 years, and they're going to have 10 years to pay us back. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody got any questions or comments on that item? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to operations and administrative. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got one resolution for us for this week. It's award joint seal coating services. We entered in with Rockford Park District, I believe it was. My only concern, it passed unanimously, but my only concern is the fact that we took the very lowest bid, and I want to make sure that we do get a quality job along with that lowest bid.
Can you disclose who the contractor was, Mr. McDonald?
If I had that pulled up, I'd be very, very happy to, Mr. Tassoni, but I have the county board agenda pulled up. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
Wait,
I've got it somewhere.
Yeah, I can pull it up if you can wait, but
No, just for curiosity was all.
it could take me a moment. So does anybody other than yourself, Mr. Chairman, have any questions on it, or?
I was just curious because I didn't get any kind of wind of it through Public Works. A joint seal coating services, it's joint with who? Us in the Park District or?
Rockford Park District.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Village, go ahead.
I just got it pulled up. It looks like it's Hastings Asphalt Services Incorporated.
Thank you,
Okay.
Village.
But I was just, yeah, it wasn't joint between the Winnebago County Highway Department and the Park District though, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, anybody, any others, questions, comments on that item? Okay, seeing none, Public Works Committee, we have no report. We're anticipating meeting on Tuesday, the 18th by way of Zoom. Is there anybody out there that's got some paperwork in front of them that can speak to some of the items on the Finance Committee? Or at least was in attendance. Mr. Arena, go ahead.
I don't have the stuff in front of me, but I can, from memory,
I
the
can read
capital
them off
improvement-
if you'd like. I just give you the first one. It's an ordinance providing the creation of the capital improvement plan, which we've formally laid over or previously.
So we met today at the with the chairman and Mr. Rickert and Mr. Thompson, and Mr. Rickert said he's gotten no questions or anything from board members. So I think it seemed everyone was okay with it. So there was that. What's the second item?
The second item
on it or discussion?
The second, I see none. The second item was a proposed amendment to the property tax code with the Illinois and the Illinois Municipal Code.
Okay, so those are the two resolutions we had in support or in opposition to the bills. And the one about the tax code is the trustee program. That has passed the Senate. There is an amendment that was filed in the House. That amendment reduces the interest rate from 12% to 9%. Currently, for the most distressed properties, the trustee program was paid 18% every 6 months. This would reduce it to from 36% annually to 9% annually, which is a benefit to the property owner. In terms of our program, currently under the system we have in place, there's no money has been distributed to any taxing bodies. So in the year and a half that it's been in place, no money has been sent out, and R1 says that they don't have money to send out until they get paid the redemption money that was being held to pay off Ballinger. So it kind of feels like we're very tight now on finances with it as we have it running now. This change in revenue may cause us to have to change how we have the program structured. I don't know if, it's really, at this point in the process, worth our time to try to oppose it for that reason. But I just think we all need to be aware of, what the financial situation is with our current program and what effect this bill will have on the finances of the program. So, Mr. Crosby, you had a question?
I don't have a question, Paul, but it was my understanding that the instruction came from our former state's attorney, Attorney Height Ross, not to make that distribution. So I'm not sure it's all of R1's fault here. What I'd like to see happen is have our current state's attorney, Mr. Hanley, come in and walk us through exactly where we stand with stuff, because I don't think we know where we stand with the Ballinger case. I don't know what there's just so many different philosophies and theories running around that I'd just like to have him in and he can explain it to us. And then we're going to have a clear picture. Right now, I don't have a clear picture. And I think it's important that we get one before we make any decisions on anything. So that's my input.
Right. And I agree with you. And we had that conversation today, and he's going to do that. And really, I'm not making the statement in terms of faulting R1. I'm just saying the reality of the situation is the program only has the money that it gets from redemption interest and sales. And so if we're currently not generating enough money under the 36% a year plus sales, reducing it to 9% is not going to help that situation. And all that means is that we might have to do less maintenance or do something different. We don't have to have a trustee program, right? So there's no long-term negative impact on the county. And that's why at this point, I don't think we need to take a position on this one at all. I think whatever's going to happen with it is going to happen. And then the other one that the resolution was for the mental health board, which we came out of committee to oppose, but now it's been changed to just match so that it's crystal clear that our mental health board operates just the same as a 708 board, which was my understanding. That's how we were working all along. So we brought it out of committee in opposition. I actually support the bill. Again, I don't know if we need to take a position on it at this point, but I might defer to Mr. Neighbors on that. If he'd like us to take a position in support, that's fine. Either way.
I'd first like to go, I think Ms. Burrow had a comment, and then Mr. Neighbors, if he chooses.
I had a comment on the one that we were just discussing about the trustee program. My comment on that one is, this is what happens when we as a board get all excited about a new project and we just rush through it and think it's wonderful and it's going to save us money. This is a good example of how it comes back and bites us. We need to start paying more attention to what we're signing and what the details of these contracts are before we jump into them. And with us getting sued from the previous company, that should have been taken care of way back before we even got in with the contract that we signed. But it's just a word of warning that we have to start being a little bit more diligent. And when we get these contracts, we look at them and really take time to look them over and make sure that every word in there is just about what it's supposed to be. This is a real good example of how we actually screwed it up, to be honest with you. Thank you.
Mr. Neighbors, would you like to chime in there on the resolution opposing the mental health board deal?
The way the mental health board sees the bill as it was presented at Congress, they're okay with the way it is. So if the county board is okay, I don't see that we need to do anything further unless you just want to support it. But I don't think we need to do anything either way.
would we then, if either, Mr. Arena, could you explain, would we then just be either deleting this item or would we be taking a vote to, the resolution in opposition?
We could table it if we don't want to take any position, or if we want to make a resolution to support it, we'll just amend it to be support instead of oppose and do that.
Okay, so that'll be known at board meeting then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can make that decision. I can circle back with Mr. Neighbors and we could talk about it some more.
Okay.
We could talk about, I won't be at the board meeting this Thursday.
Oh, so do you want us to make a resolution in support or just leave it alone?
We could just leave it alone. We could just table it.
All right, I'm good with that. We'll table it.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions, comments regarding that item 4 and 5, which was the resolution in opposition? Or number 3, the supporting the amendment to the property tax code? Seeing none on that. I see one last item is a resolution authorizing a settlement. There's no dollar amounts, at least on my paperwork, but I think we can speak to that at board if necessary.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta run. Good night, all.
All right, you didn't miss much, Paul. A couple minutes left here. Moving down the list, just for an FYI, Mr. Booker, you're slated for pledge and invocation this Thursday. Put your prayers together.
All right.
That's
What was that? 2 weeks in a row. Okay, I can handle it.
That's Mr.
And-
Butita.
And pardon?
It's Mr. Butita.
Oh, I'm looking at the last one.
Yep, you must be.
Thursday, May through, Mr. Butita, I'm sorry. I was looking at Mr. Booker. My mind was going one direction. Mr. Butita then, who isn't with us tonight, is he? No. All right, with that, Mr. Girl, Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report, but it will be a presentation made Thursday for National Correctional Officers Week. So look for that. And also just a little FYI, our Fed program through the jail brought in over 410,000 in the month of April. So we'll be getting those numbers that look to be coming up quite a bit. So that's good news. And personal news, I will be fully vaccinated on May 21st. So I look forward to getting back to board meetings on the 27th. So good news. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Girl. Don't think I've missed any committee reports there. I see, Mr. McDonald, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Girl, you may not be prepared to answer this right now, but do you happen to remember what was budgeted for monthly from the feds?
I think it was only a couple 100,000 when it was first discussed. Maybe 200,000 to 300,000 is the number that pops in my head when we had the actual feds come in and talk to us about the correctional officers and hiring more officers. I think it was about 200 to 300 was original. So this is well beyond what we initially thought.
And of course, that's why I asked the question. I believe 250 to 300 is what was budgeted.
Yeah, that seems to be the number that sticks in my head. So this is well above that. Definitely good news.
Absolutely. And I think we can grow and get better from here. But I appreciate the sheriff doing that. I look forward to any other department heads making similar moves to try to find ways to gain capital for the county.
Agree, 100%.
Good news. Is there anybody else that'd like to add to tonight's discussion? Seeing none, anybody want to entertain a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
Moved by Mr. Girl, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, folks, have a good evening. We'll see you Thursday.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.